Storm Desmond, homes flooded and travel disrupted as river levels peak. Flood waters have reached their peak as Storm Desmond continues to cause severe disruption across northern England and parts of Scotland. Hundreds of homes have been flooded and more than 1,000 people evacuated in Cumbria and the Scottish borders. Carlisle is among the worst-hit areas and more than 50 severe flood warnings remain in place, mostly in Cumbria. There are no trains running between England and Scotland via Preston, and many roads are also closed. A major incident has been declared in Carlisle, where emergency crews are using boats to carry people to safety. The Environment Agency says at least 200 properties have been flooded in the northwest. David Cameron said the army had been mobilized to help those affected, and a meeting of the government's Civil Emergency Committee, Cumbria, was being held to discuss the situation. Provisional figures suggest 352 millimeters of rain fell in 24 hours in the Lake District, which would be a new British record if verified, the Environment Agency said. BBC Weather's John Hammond, who is in Keswick, Cumbria, said, "In terms of rainfall, it's totally dry here now and will generally remain so for the rest of the day, but we are concerned about further rainfall through this week. There is more heavy rain in the forecast for flood-affected areas in the next few days and river levels downstream could be adversely affected. We'll particularly be watching the rivers S and Severn closely." In other developments, more than 50 severe flood warnings, indicating risks to life, remain in place in northern England, as well as more than 60 flood warnings and more than 60 flood alerts. In Scotland more than 90 flood warnings and alerts are in place, and some main roads are closed due to landslides and flooding. Train companies are seeing major disruption, while road restrictions are in place on the A66 and other routes between Cumbria and the northeast of England. Police in Cumbria say there is a major risk that 2 electricity substations could flood in Carlisle. In Northern Ireland, Fire and Rescue Service have helped several people from their homes and cars due to flooding in the western counties of Tyrone, Fermanagh, and Londonderry. Passengers on the Cross Tyne ferry had to be rescued on Saturday night after it was carried off in high winds with engine failure. In London, a 90-year-old man died on Saturday after it was believed he was blown into the path of a bus near Finchley Central Station. Across Lancashire and large parts of Cumbria, more than 60,000 residents are without power, while 8 rescue centres have been opened in Cumbria for those forced to leave their homes. Adrian Home, from Cumbria Fire and Rescue Service, said flooding was unprecedented as the River Eden burst its banks in Appleby and water levels came close to the top of flood defence barriers in Carlisle and Keswick. Around 150 people were rescued overnight by the Coast Guard after a static residential caravan park was heavily flooded at Amont Bridge near Penrith. In Scotland, 600 people were evacuated from their homes in the borders town of Hook and a train headed for Glasgow was left stranded at Carlisle station with passengers having to sleep on board overnight. Storm Desmond is the 4th storm to be given a name by the public in a project by the Met Office and Met Tyrian in Ireland to help raise awareness of severe weather.